Hello, everybody. I hope everyone is doing well so far. My name is Alex Smith. I'm going to be your host today. I just a bit of information about me. So I'm basically a director of my own agency, which is Alex and Matteo Estate Agents. We've been running for about a year now, and I've been sort of jumping around sort of agencies for multiple years. So got a lot of knowledge to obviously share with you guys, and really looking forward to it today. So without further ado, what I'm going to do is I'm going to introduce you to my guests. So my guest today
Good
is
evening,
going to
everyone.
be Matteo and
Good
also
evening.
Andrew Jackson. So hi guys,
Hello.
how are you all doing at the moment?
Yes, very well, thanks. Enjoying the weather.
Good stuff, good stuff. And
Very
Matteo,
well.
how's things with you, buddy?
Oh, good. How are you guys?
Very good, actually. Very good. Obviously, sort of, it's a bit strange nowadays with sort of COVID-19 at the moment and everything being on shutdown. But you know what? Absolutely, sort of love it at the moment, being able to work from home, which is rather quite handy. But yeah, so obviously with you guys, what I'm going to do is obviously we need to introduce you guys. So Matteo, if you could just let me know a bit about yourself and a bit about sort of where you've sort of come from and so on and so forth, that'd be really handy.
Yeah, sure. I've been working in real estate for almost 10 years now. Actually, a little bit more than that. Started in the West End for a big brand, Century 21. Maybe some of you guys know it. And then I started my venture with Alex last year, and I'm very glad to be here tonight, and I can't wait to answer your questions if you have any of them.
Fantastic. And also Andrew, if you could give me a bit of an insight on sort of obviously your background, buddy, that'd be amazing.
Sure. Well, likewise, I've been in the industry for nearly 15 years now. In London, worked in the city, worked in the West End, but the majority, probably nearly 10 years, in Southeast London, close to Bermondsey, London Bridge, and coming further out to Deptford. It's a good area to work in now. So yeah, that's my history in sales.
So you've always sort of been around that kind of area then?
Started out in North London actually, then moved to the city, and then a stint in the West End, and then the majority of the time, nearly a decade, in Southeast London.
Fair enough.
Yeah.
And did you enjoy it in the Central as well? That must be quite
Central's a great area. Central's a great area. I mean, it's nearly a decade now, and yeah, really interesting people. Obviously, it's one of the busiest cities in the world, and it's just it's great. I mean, fantastic properties as well, of course,
and a lot of fun as well, right?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, so
brilliant. Sorry, go on.
No, all yourself, Alex.
Fantastic. But yeah, I think more than anything as well, obviously, I think obviously what we're going to be going through today, so obviously this is called Property Insights. So what I want to make sure of is I want to try and answer the uneasy kind of sort of questions that a lot of people have, you know, because there's a lot of people I hope out there that are wanting to ask these questions but are either shy to ask them or either they're uncertain on sort of what to say, you know. And I think if we can really divulge into these sort of questions today and just give a bit of clarity more than anything to sort of people out there, I think it would really help out. So obviously what I'm going to be doing, guys, is I'm wanting to sort of shoot some questions over to you. So what I've actually done is I've actually used one of my portals that we use for our own agency, and I've actually sort of said to them, I was like, look, I'm going on to sort of a live stream. Is there any crucial sort of elements that you're wanting to basically know about throughout the property industry? and we've actually had a lot of interest coming back. So Matteo, obviously, I'm going to obviously start with you, buddy. So with you, obviously, you've been in the agency, sort of estate agency, for quite some time, and obviously one of the sort of main ones that a lot of people have at the moment is actually going to be sort of when is the right time to buy for first-time buyers, and sort of. Do you think it's now, or do you think it's going to be in sort of a couple of years' time, or do you think it's going to be sort of next month, or what do you sort of think, mate?
Yeah, this is a question that a lot of people ask us, especially as you said, first-time buyer. It's not an easy answer, because it could be the right time for somebody, but it could be the worst time for somebody else. Yeah. I think it's a little more about. Are you ready to settle down for a minimum of 5 years? Then I will say definitely is the right time to buy. Forget about the market. Forget about how it's gonna be in the near future. Think long term. Think of all the money that you can save in rentals. How much money are you spending? 20K a year.
Well, this is sorry to obviously interrupt, but so this is exactly it, and I think a lot of people do not think about that. Like if you think about it, like even us at the moment, obviously you bought a place, and also Andrea has as well, but at the moment I haven't, and thinking about it every single time, you are literally sort of getting this money that you're having for an income. And then all you're doing is you're giving it straight to the landlord. So I think, like you said, I think sort of having the opportunity to buy at the right time is a crucial element to a lot of people's understanding of when to do it, and I think, like you said, I think, those are obviously one of the main sort of key factors. Regarding obviously sort of first-time buyers, now, with obviously sort of going through sort of the right time to buy, when would you sort of say, would you say this year would be a good time to buy, or would you say sort of next year, or what are your sort of thoughts on this market at the moment?
Yeah, I mean, as I said, it's subjective. If you are looking to settle for at least 3, 4, 5 years, definitely is the right time to buy. If you take in consideration the last 10 years for the gap, 10 years gap. Throughout the history, you will see that the price always went up and up. And at the end of the day, I don't think it's good to think about the market when you're buying your first property. You're buying the property where you want to enjoy your life, and the life is.
So sorry to sort of interrupt again. So would you say, with obviously regarding sort of the dreaded sort of question, a lot of people are asking this, and a lot of people are saying like they're sort of like getting itchy feet at the moment. With obviously sort of COVID-19 and with this current crisis at the moment, do you think people don't need to sort of worry about that at the moment, or do you think they need to take that into factor, or what do you sort of think at the moment?
No, definitely we need to take it in consideration. We need to consider the fact that a lot of people probably will lose their job. So probably there will be a correction in the market. But again, if you're buying and you're staying in there for 5 years, don't worry about it. It will come up again. What if you're missing this opportunity and next year the price goes up again? So buy when you're ready. Buy when you can afford it. And
so would you sort of say that the market in London obviously fluctuates a hell of a lot then?
No, it never really fluctuates a lot in London. It always went upwards. In 2008 it went down, but then it suddenly went up again. I mean, in the area where we work in Bermondsey, Rotherhithe, I mean, I think they will go upwards because of all the things that are happening in there.
Well, I suppose also it's the gentrification, isn't it? Really. So you look at, for instance, I'll never forget this, and I had a really good chat with an architect that I knew for donkey's years, and he actually built some of the biggest developments in East London. And he said to me, he was just like, Alex, do you want to have a look at this property? I was like, I'd love to. Well, went right up to the top of one of the highest buildings in London, and it's still getting built at the moment, so I can't say too much. And I sort of said to him, I was like, oh, this is very interesting. It's amazing views and blah, blah, blah. But he said, well, actually, look at these floor plans and look at these plans of London. So he showed me, he sort of said to me, he was like, look, so probably around about 15 years ago, he said, well, look at London as it is now. So 15 years ago, it was basically about that big. 10 years ago, it's gone that big. 15 years ago then, 10 years ago, and then 5 years ago from now. And he said the gentrification of what London's going to be like over the next coming sort of years is going to be unbelievable, because they're now having to knock down old buildings to build new ones, and this is it. And I think that's a crucial element to obviously knowing where to invest as well, because if you don't sort of think about it that way, then you're going to be obviously sort of investing into sort of places where they're not going to be gentrified in sort of the next 2 years. It's going to be sort of 10 years. So obviously Crossrail coming up and so on and so forth. But also, Andrew, so obviously I've sort of had a bit of chat with Matteo about this as well, but there is obviously another question which I think obviously a lot of people want to get highlighted as well, sir. And one of these is what would be the sort of the biggest questions you should be asking to estate agencies out there if they're looking to sort of rent or buy? Obviously mainly to buy, because that's going to be something that's going to be a lot more sort of essential for people. But what would be sort of the questions you would ask?
I think really when you're looking for a house to live, is similar to Matteo said, you're looking for somewhere to make a home, somewhere to enjoy. But first and foremost, it's shelter. It's something you need. Yeah. So there's questions you can ask an estate agent, but what I would suggest is these can be simple questions, because if you're going to get into the nitty and gritty, that's when you can start employing a surveyor, or that's when your solicitor gets down to specific questions with the other solicitors. So
of course.
I wouldn't bog the estate agent down too much, because I don't think it's fair for the estate agent to be held responsible or to advise on the specifics of the flat or the house, because ultimately it's actually his client who's doing it. So maybe you could ask rather about the property, about the client's position. It's always useful to know the background, because I think what people don't realize, particularly first time buyers, before they get in the process, it's great when you make an offer, but there's a lot of hard work that goes beyond the offer. So getting it, what we call sales progressing, getting it from offer to completion or offer to exchange.
I think we might have got cut off on that one, but I completely agree. There we go. We're back again. I completely agree. I think obviously with the current sort of situation, current market at the moment, and obviously a sort of estate agency at the moment, they only know as much as they know about the property, right? So there's only going to be a certain amount that they can actually sort of sell to the property and obviously ask for the property. But I think more sort of turning it back right at the beginning, because I think there's a lot of people that don't understand this as well, is that if you're obviously sort of putting on a property, now the agency is going to put on the property and so on and so forth. But when they obviously go on to the viewing, would you say sort of obviously asking sort of about ground rent, service charge, the years of the lease? So when would you say sort of is a good time to obviously interact, when you sort of need to understand or acknowledge these sort of questions?
These are good questions, because obviously you have a budget, and your budget not includes the mortgage for the property price, but there's other outgoing costs. So most of the properties in London's, even some of the houses, are on leases. So you don't want to start making an offer before obviously finding out about the financials and the budgets.
Yeah.
And there's, don't forget as well, you will be committing money and also time towards this. So once you make an offer, you're going to instruct your solicitor and pay them. As after that, you're then going to perhaps get a surveyor and pay for searches as well. So you need to make sure everything's prepared before you make the offer, and the solicitor's ready. So yes, ground rent, service charge, and lease length are very important.
And another question I think a lot of people would probably ask, and to be fair for me as well, I kind of want to find this out as well. With sort of obviously freehold, leasehold, which one would you sort of say is the best one to go for? And what's the sort of situation with obviously leases? When would you say sort of the lowest part of a lease? When would you say to extend a lease?
This is really a question to get advice from your bank, because don't forget, if like the majority of people, the bank is actually going to buy or invest in the bigger share of the property. So they tend to get worried about 80 years. Anything less than 80 years, they may decline it. So yeah, it's a very good question, and something perhaps you should speak with your lender first before you view properties. And going back to the second question, without doubt, freeholds a much better proposition. You've got no outgoing costs, not only without the cost you're incurring, but you get to choose what you do with the land. However, I'd probably say you're very lucky to find a freehold in London, particularly for first-time buyers, because you're paying for the land and it's quite a privilege, and you're probably looking over £500,000.
Yeah, so obviously the sort of the prices then sort of go up a little bit more, and then you're looking at a sort of a higher price. Fair enough. Just to stop you there, guys, quickly. So I've actually got a question coming through from someone, Ahmed. Obviously, lovely that you're on at the moment, and thank you very much for coming on. So Matteo, I'm going to aim this one for you, buddy.
Yes.
So is it a good time for invest in terms of rental market in East London? Would you say it's like is it a strong sort of market at the moment, or is it a weak market? What's the sort of situation? Obviously, keeping in sort of in play with COVID-19 as well.
Yeah.
And I think this is obviously something that a lot of people are asking at the moment as well.
Yeah, thanks, Ahmed, for your question. Again, I think it's very subjective. When is a good time to buy? We don't know what is going to happen in the near future. I personally think there will be a correction in terms of price. So if you are an investor, you need to be you need to play your cards very wisely at the moment. More than speaking about market, is more about taxation now. As you probably know, Ahmed, there is the 3% stamp duty on top of whatever you are going to buy. So the taxation is very high for landlords at the moment. If your question is, should I invest west rather than east, or east rather than west, I would say definitely invest east. I think is an area with a lot more potential. West has been developed a long time ago. I really think that east is the
east is more the place to be.
It's the place where the new generation want to live. So speaking about lettings, the new generations are moving east. It's more affordable, first of all. So a lot of people that used to rent in the West End, they're moving towards east because there are more activity, a lot of things going on, a lot of art galleries opening in Stratford. I think it's a great area where to invest.
Where would you say is sort of one of the best places, if you had to choose, if you personally had to choose in East London, where would you sort of want to invest into?
In East London, I think it's a great investment to buy around Barking or as well East End, because sorry, I meant to say East Ham. Great location. You can still buy freehold under 500k there. 500k.
So it's a little bit low on the price then.
Say again?
It's a little bit low on the price then with the freeholds over there.
Yeah, definitely. If you are looking to buy a freehold in East Ham, I'm not saying that everybody can afford it, but with without spending $1 million, you can buy a beautiful Victorian house. There is a lot of potential in there. I would invest. I would definitely invest there. I would buy a Victorian house, lot of character.
And sorry to interrupt, buddy. And another question as well is, so obviously with obviously the gentrification that we're talking about, obviously in East London and obviously with London as well. I know this is a bit of a sort of a blind spot for a lot of people, but if you came to East London and you didn't really know the market around this area, if you wanted to go for sort of a 1-2 bedroom sort of bedroom house or flat, how much would you be sort of wanting to spend?
Yeah, so first of all, a good suggestion to Ahmet or to all those people that are looking to buy their first property investment in an area that maybe they don't know very well. Go on Zoopla, go on Rightmove, on house price, type the postcode where you would like to buy. You can see all the history of the property sold within the last 10 years. So do that first. Get confident with the numbers. Check what has been sold in the last 2 years. Use it as a comparable. Speak with the estate agents around there.
So you're sort of saying, like, sorry to obviously interrupt, but you're sort of saying, obviously with the market at the moment, you think the best thing to do is to go on to sort of Rightmove, Zoopla, just check the property sort of prices in that area, instead of sort of just trusting and relying on the estate agency just himself as well.
Yeah, I mean, it's very difficult to do prediction about the market. It's on the news every day. The majority of the news are saying price will go down. They've been saying that since 2014, though, the price are going down. They said in 2016 after Brexit, the price went down a little bit, but not in the East End, though. They are saying it now. They probably will go down, but I don't feel like to say, yeah, definitely we go down or definitely we go up. What I can say, I feel confident that within the next 5 years, the price will go up. There we go.
Yeah, so you're sort of thinking realistically in sort of 5-10 years, that's when you're going to be making the sort of the profit margins of obviously for investments and so on and so forth. Okay, brilliant. Thank you very much, Matteo, for that one as well. Now with this one, obviously I'm now aiming it more towards sort of Andrew on this one. So with obviously there's one thing that's sort of coming into play at the moment as well, and I think obviously a lot of people are asking this question, and I think it's a lot of concerns, you know, is essentially sort of what are your sort of thoughts on the property market sort of for the next coming years? Would you sort of say it's a good time to sort of buy sort of now, or would you say for investment terms, not for sort of first time buyers, but would you say for investment terms, would you say it's a good time to buy now, or would you say it's a good time to buy in a year's time or in 5 years time? What are your sort of thoughts?
I think what you need to consider is similar to what Matteo is saying. Yes, the property market is going to lose some confidence in the next few months. However, there's another factor you need to bear in mind. Money has never been so cheap. And there's even talk about lending coming down, so borrowing money. I mean, negative interest rates may well happen in the next year or so. So if you're looking at and you need to consider the rental market, tenants hopefully still should be easy to find. So it's a balance. And I think it's similar to what you should think about when you're first time out. As an investor, you shouldn't really be looking to buy and then to sell in 2, 3, 5, or even 10 years. You're going to have it for 25 years. Your mortgage term on the buy-to-let investments, usually 25 years. If you're not doing repayments.
Well, funny you say that. Funny you say that, Andrew, as well. Is that so? Obviously, my last company, I actually was running the office, and this was in Bow, and I had someone come in one day, and they sort of said to me, they were like, "Oh, I've had this property for ages." I was like, "Oh, brilliant, that's awesome," but I'm now looking to sell, and they've had it for nearly sort of 20 odd years, like you said. And she said to me, she was like, "Alex, guess how much I got it for?" I was like, "Go on, just humour me here, humour me." 75,000. That was 15 years ago.
Yeah.
It's now worth nearly 350 to 400,000. And this is it. You know, I think that's a crucial element of obviously what the market needs to be like. You know, I always say, and there's so many people that say, "Well, Alex, how do you make a quick buck? How do you make a quick buck?" You cannot make a quick buck. It's not possible. You know, you need to make sure that you sit on your sort of capital and you sit on your sort of investments as long as you can, and get that yield out and get that rental yield out as much as possible, and utilize it, saturate it as much as possible, and then sell it from there. You know, and I think that's something that a lot of people are wanting to do. But Matteo, just obviously one more thing that I want to be sort of scratching over today, and I think it's a big thing that we've been obviously talking about to our landlords as well, and a lot of investors, is the new regulations when it comes to lettings. And I've had so many questions about this, so many questions, it's unreal. And obviously there's a lot of new ones that are coming up, obviously with the electrics. So the electric cert, the HMO regulations, obviously sort of the gas regulations, you name it. There's so many that you've got to think about. And obviously, Matteo, what are your sort of, if you could just give us a bit more of an insight into what regulations landlords need to understand and need to get on point in the next coming months, the next coming years, and so on and so forth.
Yeah, thanks, Alex. There is a new regulation coming into place from the 1st of July this year. For all new tenancy, landlords needs to provide an electric certificate as well as the gas certificate. So every landlords out there need to contact an electrician and get an electric certificate. It would cost around £150.
Okay.
If you contact us, and we can give you the contact details of somebody that can do it for you, but any electrician can do that. So that is the most important things for this year. Of course,
and that one, sorry, I just want to recap. That one goes on for 5 years, isn't it?
Yeah. Once you're done it,
once you get that, then you can obviously have it for 5 years. Okay.
Every 5 years. If you already have tenants in situ at the moment, you don't need to do it now. Don't worry. But by July next year, of
course,
your property is already occupied. You need to do it, and of course, you need a gas certificate every year, and the EPC needs to be over EE or over. They want to change that parameter as well.
Yeah, they're wanting to change it up even more, don't they?
They want to change it up to G. So let's explain what an EPC is, so the people at home can understand. So the EPC is the energy performance certificate. Each property has a certain performance. It's important that you take one every 10 years because it's a legal requirement for the tenants. So the tenants can roughly understand how much money they are going to spend. The problem is that with all these Victorian houses that are very beautiful and have a lot of character, a lot of them have a very... I was
going to say, I remember exactly what you're
have
going
a very bad performance. But don't worry, because if your property is a Victorian house and you did anything in your power to make it energy efficient, even if it's a E, it will be fine. You will be able to rent it out because
so you can basically get like a sort of, in a way, like a sort of a grant.
Yes.
With obviously the older properties, and then you can basically sort of say, well, look, I cannot do any physical work to the property to make it any higher.
Yeah.
So if that's the case, then obviously I cannot produce an EPC higher than an E anyway.
Yeah,
so if I still want to rent it out, then you can get that certificate, and then you can automatically, by law, you can rent it out, can't you?
Yeah, exactly. For instance, if you own a beautiful Georgian house with timber frames and that obviously are single glazed, you can't change it in double glazed just for the EPC, because you will ruin the conservation area. You will ruin
if it's a grade 2 listed building, then you can't do it anyway, can you?
Yeah, exactly. So you will get an exemption. So I think it is a good regulation, because how many people we know that they rent this ground floor properties, electric only, no gas, and then they find out that their bills are like £200 a month for a studio flat. We had several occasions in which the tenants had this issue. So if you are a tenant out there, make sure you get an EPC, because it is important.
Of course. And obviously, I think the main one that a lot of people are asking at the moment as well, more on the letting side once again, is with HMO regulations. Now, they've obviously sort of done, I know about the selective, additional, and mandatory HMOs, and these are obviously, a lot of people are concerned about these, because they are very confusing. And with obviously these, I know sort of bits and pieces about obviously selective. So there's selective in Southwark as well. So the Southwark area is a bit of a sort of a stinger when it comes to it. It's still not a bad investment area, but at the same time, obviously you have a selective and additional HMOs around that area. But Matteo, more than what I'm sort of putting you on the spot on this one, buddy, but more than what I need to know at the moment is what does it mean when you come to a selective, additional, and also a mandatory HMO? What are the regulations that they need to abide by when it comes to the HMO licensing?
Yeah, so first of all, the rules are different from each borough. So I would invite people at home to, if they do,
try and find them online, kind of thing.
Find it online, but because online they make it very difficult, but it's not that difficult. Cool. Basically, what you need to know is that if you have more than 2 tenants unrelated in your property, you are in need of a license in certain borough. I'm talking about Tower Hamlet and Sadek, that are the borough where we work mostly. In some other borough is 5 tenants or more, but in some, like our one, is 3 or more. So if you have more than 3 tenants, you need an HMO. Again, a lot of landlords don't want to get the HMO because they want to save money. It's only £500.
Yeah, exactly. It's not a huge amount, is it, really?
If the council find out that you are illegally rented out room by room your apartment, you will get a very big fine, around 30K. If one of your tenants get an injury, you will risk to go to jail. So generally speaking, I would say do the HMO license, pay those £500 and get your license.
But we're obviously sort of, I remember that we're obviously going through one at the moment. So we're going through one in Canary Wharf, and I think the issue is obviously it's the length of the grant of obviously getting an HMO licensing. It's very, very difficult to get, but I think obviously what you can do, and I think this is a key factor, is that you can get an HMO on your property and you can still proceed without them giving you the actual grant fully and getting your property rented. Because I think a lot of people out there think, oh God, well, I need to get the HMO first, and then I can only let it out when I get granted. But that's not the question, you know.
Yeah, it's understandable that a lot of landlords are worried about that. So it's you from the moment in which you apply, you will need to wait up to 1 year to get an update from the council.
Of course.
The main things are the size of the room. If you have a room that is a box room, obviously the council won't let you rent it out. Then if you want to do it, you do it against the law, unless you rent it out to a family.
But yeah, I completely agree. And I think you've got to keep that into sort of consideration. You know, I think when it comes to it, you really need to understand what's going to be good for you as a person. You know, and one thing I think, and obviously we're sort of live on here as well with the vodcast. You've got to make sure that you do everything by law, because if you don't, then you will get stung. And they like to sting people. And I've seen it before, and it's awful. And I do not like people coming back sort of saying, oh, God, well, I've just done this and I've done it wrong and blah, 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 and my bedroom's too small because of the HMO licensing. Make sure that you get the HMO licensing, and make sure that you understand what are the right regulations for it, you know, and then you can proceed. But just a really quick one. So we've actually got another comment from Rita. Hi, Rita. I hope you're still on as well. I know we're going on for a long time. But with this one, so I'm actually going to go to Andrew for this one. So Andrew, Rita's basically saying, is it worth buying a property in Romford for rent? So is it good for her to basically buy a property and then invest for rentals, so then letting it out straight away in Romford? What do you think about Romford area?
Sure. I mean, similar to a lot of places in East London, it's affordable. So there's two sides to the coin here. One, you're going to have a lot of people inquiring. Two, you need to consider the types of tenants you'll get. You might not perhaps get the tenants who are working Canary Wharf, who are working long hours, who need to be close to Canary Wharf. Because they're very time poor, but they're rich poor, so they can afford more. They can go a bit central. So yes, and you may also want to consider exactly which part of Romford. Again, I think the closer to any transport or main transport, such as trains and tubes rather than buses.
Sorry, Andrew. Would you say that the gentrification in Romford is happening right now, or what do you think of Romford as an area?
I wouldn't say quite as yet. If you look at other places, I mean, Canning Town is a very good example. It was quite a deprived area over 10-15 years ago.
It's got, what's it called again? London City Island, isn't it?
Yes, correct. So that's attracting. Because of the transport, the tube there is excellent. But a big development there, with big developments, you get commercial elements downstairs. So that brings more attraction to the area. There's more coffee shops, bars, restaurants, dry cleaners. I think a good indication is really, if you look at the high street or the closest high street to Romford, and if you look at the types of shops, if it's full of chicken shops, you're not going to quite get the tenants. If it's a good, if there's more coffee shops or cafes, that gives you an idea of the tenants, what's moving in. Because obviously, the types of business come to the area is due to the demand and the demographics of the people living there. So I'd say it's probably quite easy to go down the high street and you'd be able to find out yourself.
But I think more out of sort of clarity as well. So I've been obviously sort of chatting to, so I know quite a few people sort of around that area for estate agencies and that actually own them. And when it comes to sort of Romford and those kind of sort of areas, more out of clarity, like I've actually had a lot of conversations with them, and they've sort of said, well, Alex, you do actually get a lot of sort of professional workers there, you know. It's a little bit further afield, so obviously the further you go, then obviously your more affordable sort of prices coming out of to play, and I think obviously just to sort of go back onto Rita's sort of question, I think investing in that area, I think, is a cracking idea to do. You know, I think it's it should be up and coming, but like we said right at the start, it's the gentrification. When's it going to happen? And I think realistically, it's probably going to be happening sort of 5 years, 10 years down the line. So Rita, if you are looking to sort of invest, I think it's going to have to be a long-term investment and not a short-term investment. Because if you do a short-term investment, like I said, you know, it's not going to give you the sort of the capital that you're wanting back. And I think that's a crucial element to a lot of what people are sort of wanting and asking at the moment anyway, you know. So I think that's a very, very good question, Rita, and thank you for asking it, you know, because I want more people to ask these questions for us and put us on the spot. But yeah, obviously I'll finish off with obviously one more question as well. I think it's a big sort of question that a lot of people are asking, more in the estate agency world. And I can ask both of you really, and I think I'll start with Matteo on this one. What do you think is going to be happening to the estate agency world out there? Do you think it's going to be sort of more online agents we're going to see, or do you think it's going to be sort of on street agents are still going to be around the corner, or what do you honestly think is going to be happening for the next coming years, with obviously taking into consideration COVID-19 as well?
Yeah, it's a good question. I mean, if we take in consideration the last 20 years of history, I remember when I was a kid and my parents were in Italy. We were going we were looking for a property. We used to go to walk inside this high street estate agency. I mean, the challenge for the estate agents back then was to reach the buyers. Yeah. Now, if you are looking for a property, it's very easy to find it. Everybody will go to Zoopla. If you want to sell a property, you go to Zoopla. Exactly. And you know for sure the person that is looking to buy a 2-bedroom apartment or whatever it is in that area will see your property. I think the estate agents right now, they need to focus on something else. They need to focus on customer service. They need to focus on quality, because that is the key point.
Quality, not quantity, right?
Quality and not quantity. Now, high street agents, I think then it's not bad to have an street office, but what is the point to have it? Why the seller needs to pay 20% of the commission to pay the rent of this high street office, to pay the lease of a beautiful car? I think it's very important to focus, rather than spending money in high street offices, spend money in marketing, spend money on the customer, try to offer the best.
Make them feel like individual and sort of good, right?
Yeah, be individual. I mean, I remember when I bought a property 5 years ago, but I went to see this property. I really liked it, but the estate agent was very bad, and they didn't buy it. If the estate agent was,
this is it, you know.
So that makes the estate. That is an equation. I like the property. I like the estate agents. I buy it. A lot of estate agents are focusing only on sellers. Remember that you won't be able to sell a property if you don't have a buyer. It's very important to give very good customers.
But like you said, this is a crucial element, and I think this is so interesting because there's so many people that do that. You know, like for instance, the other day, So I'm not going to say any names or anything like that, you know. But I basically am looking to rent again. So with a good friend of mine, and when I'm looking to rent, honestly, I did not go for that agent just because he was rude. He was very rude. And
Exactly.
I was just thinking, well, come on, like we're giving you that sort of like, we're giving you that commission. We're doing this for you, you know. There's got to be a certain amount of respect. Don't get me wrong, obviously. I'm not going to say that I'm talking to sort of the Queen or something like that, but at the same time, you've got to make sure that the respect is on both sides. And I think that's what a lot of people are I don't want to say it, but and I'm probably going to get a lot of sort of offense on this one, but they're lacking, you know. They are lacking.
And on the other end,
sorry, go on.
On the other end as well, the problem with online agents is that they don't offer a good customer service at all. That is reflected in their fees. I mean, you pay for a tool, you pay for advertisement. I don't think it's fair.
That obviously is your opinion, you know.
This is my personal opinion. I personally think it's not fair to pay £2,000 just to have your property advertised, and then you will need to sell it by yourself. I don't think it's a good deal. I think it's important to be part of the community, do partnership with local businesses, and be approachable. And
perfect. Brilliant. Well, look, Matteo, thank you very much on that one, buddy. Just the last, obviously, little bit as well. So, Andrew, what are your sort of thoughts at the moment on obviously the situation? So, where do you think estate agents are going to go, sort of, or where do you think estate agencies are going to go in the next coming years? Do you think they're going to go online, or do you think they're going to be sort of still on the street, or what do you think?
Yeah. So, I mean, obviously.
Oh, I think we've lost him there. But yeah, I think realistically, obviously, with everything that's sort of happening at the moment, it's a very interesting market. You know, and this is what I've been sort of saying to a lot of people. You know, it's more reassurance out of anything else. And when it comes to obviously COVID-19, when it comes to sort of all these situations, and don't forget that we've obviously got Brexit just around the corner as well, coming up again. And these are the things that we've got to take into play. And these are the questions that a lot of people need to ask. And I want to try and ask these uncomfortable questions, because I think they need to be answered. Because if we don't answer them, then who else is going to answer them, right?
Yeah. If you think like I taking as an example, in the US, they stopped with high street estate agents a long time ago.
There you go.
You need, of course, you need an office. You need an office in a prominent area. I would suggest take an office close to the tube station. Take an office where people can come to visit you easily. But rather than pay the rent to have an office off street.
Yeah, exactly.
Pay for an advertisement on the street.
Okay. Well, look, you know what? Honestly, I feel like it's really, really gone well today. I hope I've obviously answered all the questions that were sort of put live. And obviously, Ahmed and also Rita, thank you so much for obviously sending over your comments. Please do. Obviously, we'll be coming on very, very soon next week as well. So please do come on live with us again. And yeah, we'll answer these questions that will be sort of very awkward to answer, but I love it. I absolutely love it anyway. But look, thank you very much, everybody, for listening. And I hope everyone sort of enjoyed Vodcast as we speak. Thank you very much, guys, and see you very soon.